What is up to all my Baggins dragons out there, and welcome to another episode of Diary of a Silver Pourer. So this is kind of a new series I'm working on, and this is where I talk about my experiences as a silver pourer. I'm just starting out, and also some of the equipment I use and different stuff like that. So I think it's very valuable if you're new to silver pouring. This could be some good information for you, or if you just want to listen to someone talk about silver pouring and their experience and everything, this could be some entertaining content as well. Also, for me personally, this will be great in a year, so I can kind of look back and see my experience starting out silver pouring and how things have changed over time. So that's kind of why I'm making this series. I'm really going to be having some fun with it. I'm excited to be sharing this information. So on the first episode, I talked about some of the equipment that I'm using for silver pouring. I talked about the furnace, how I'm melting it, the molds, that kind of thing. And for this second episode, I want to talk about the stamping and finishing side of it. So the stamping and finishing kind of are a little bit intertwined. I didn't really bring this up in the first episode, but there are a lot of different finishes you could put on your poured silver, such as a matte, polished, antiqued, hammered, stuff like that. So there's different ways you can sort of finish the piece. And I think that's something I definitely need to talk about. It is very important. So let's talk about the stamping first. So if you live in the United States of America, there's a couple things you have to stamp on your bar or round or whatever you made. So the first thing you need to stamp is how much it weighs. So silver, we weigh it in troy ounces, not regular ounces. There's a fancy word for those. Like if you go to the grocery store and you weigh a banana, it'll tell you how many ounces it is. But silver is a different type of ounce. It's a troy ounce. And so is gold. All precious metals are weighed in troy ounces. So this isn't really talking about that specifically, but I just wanted to mention that. So, okay, so you need to put the weight. Let's say you pour a bar and it ends up being 2.52 troy ounces, right? So somewhere on that bar, you need to stamp 2.52 troy ounces, or ounces troy, or OZT. That's what I stamp. It stands for ounces troy. So there you go. You also need to stamp what it is. So silver, obviously, if you're pouring a silver bar, and how pure it is. So if it's 925, that's sterling silver, or fine silver, which is 999 or 9999. So for me, I just stamp 999 FS. That stands for 999 fine silver. And I actually have a special stamp that stamps just that. It's from Impress Art. That's the company that makes it. They make actually a ton of different cool stamps. So if you wanted sort of a more generic stamping kit, or if you want to do privy stamps or something like that, Impress Art has got a lot of good stuff you can buy. And I think they're mostly in the 6mm range for sizes. So you need to stamp what it is and how much it weighs. Those are the two things you really need to stamp if you live in America. Now, if you live overseas, for instance, in Europe, and you want to sell poured silver and all that, they actually have to go get it assayed, which is, I guess, either a company or a government entity, someone that will weigh it and confirm it is what it is. And they have like a whole special thing they have to do over there. We don't have to do that here in the United States of America. No. So, I don't know. I just thought I brought that up. So, all right, what kind of tools are you going to need for stamping? So you need stamps, you need something to hit the stamp with, and you need something to go behind the piece of silver to hold it while you're stamping it. Stamping. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's talk about the actual stamps themselves first. So I bought 1/8 inch stamps from the big box store, and they're made out of steel. They're supposed to be good for like 9,000 hits or something, but honestly, I've hit them a lot less than that, and they're already starting to wear out. So I might need to go pick up some better stamps here in the future. But they're called either stamps or punches, steel punches, steel stamps, something like that. So I bought all the letters and numbers just in a pack, and those were the 1/8 inch, and they're okay. They're working out fine, but I might need to get some better ones. So I got those, and then also my logo stamp I got, which is custom made. It's out of steel. They have to use a machine, I think, with a laser to kind of etch out your logo or whatever you're getting made. And you can get those made anywhere from probably 40 to $100, depending on the size. And there are different people on Etsy or eBay that make them, or you could just find someone through networking in the silver community. So I got my logo stamp made. That was pretty cool. It took about 3 weeks. It took forever. It seemed like it was never going to get here, but it finally did. So yeah, you're going to need stamps. At the bare minimum, you're going to need just letters and numbers. Usually the numbers just come in 0 through 8, and then the 6 you flip upside down for the 9. So I don't know. That's something on the numbers. It's interesting, but and then you're going to need something to hit them with. So for the logo stamp, that one I like to use a heavier hammer. I think it's maybe a 3-pound hammer. It's got some weight to it. And then for the smaller ones, like the letters and numbers, I use a smaller hammer. I don't know the weight on it, but it's it's just a regular looking hammer. I think it was like $3 at the store. So yeah, you're gonna need hammers, and then to kind of hold the piece of silver while you stamp it, there are different things you can buy. You can get like a jeweler's mat, I think they're called, out of either steel or rubber. People use those, or you can get some sort of leather surface to stamp on. For me, just starting out, I'm actually using a leather wallet to put behind the piece, and honestly, it is terrible. It's the hardest thing to use. The piece moves around, especially when I get to the corners when I'm trying to stamp the numbers, just on the corner of the bar. It folds up, and it's absolutely terrible. So I need to up my stamping game as far as how the piece gets held in place, or what I'm putting behind it when I actually do the stamping. So that's kind of what I'm working with right now, but I'll figure out a better solution here in the near future, hopefully, because I really, really need to. But so the whole process of stamping is basically, so you pour your silver bar or round or whatever, and then you'll put it in the water and make it cold, and then it takes maybe 3 seconds in the water or whatever, and then it's actually, you can hold it. It's not that hot at all. So it goes from 2,000 degrees to, I don't know, 50, 80 degrees really quick. It's awesome. Water's amazing. So once it's cooled, then you can go ahead and start stamping. I would recommend doing your logo stamp, or sort of any stamps that you want to get deeper in there first before you finish the bar. If you're going to be tumbling it, aka putting it in a rock tumbler to get a polished finish, that's what I'm doing. You're definitely going to want to do your logo stamp first, because after you tumble it in the rock tumbler, it actually makes the silver a little bit harder. So it's more difficult to stamp at that point. So I'd recommend doing your logo stamp and then tumbling it if you're going for the polished finish, and that's how you want to do it. And then after that's done, then you can go ahead and stamp the weight and all that stuff on the back of the bar. You do not want to stamp the weight before you actually tumble it, because once you tumble it, it's going to take off a little bit of weight. It'll sort of round the edges. Anything that stuck to the bar, if you had some borax or some graphite in there from the mold or whatever, that'll come off, and the bar will actually weigh less after you've tumbled it. So that's something you really need to factor in. And then when you are stamping the weight, so you will need a scale to weigh it, obviously. I bought my scale off Amazon. I think it was like $15. So they're not very expensive, and you want to make sure you get one that's going to be able to weigh very small pieces. If you have a 5 gram or 10 gram bar or whatever, you want to make sure you can get that small, but also the fractions of ounces you need to have. So we'll go back to the example of the 2.52 bar. Let's say you weigh that and the final weight is 2.525. And this is after you've tumbled it and everything. So for the weight on that one, you should actually stamp it 2.52. You want to round down and always stamp it a little bit on the lighter side. You want the bar to be maybe a little bit heavier than what the actual number is, just in case it kind of gets worn down a little bit over time and whatnot. But also, you don't really want to round up. You wouldn't ever stamp that 2.53 because that's not the weight, and you just don't want to have any issues with that. So that would be the number you stamp on there. But okay, so you got your logo stamped in. Now you want to finish the bar, and there's a lot of different finishes you could do. So a hammered finish, I've never tried that before, but basically you take a hammer and you just beat the bar in all the different corners, and it makes a really cool sort of looking effect. I like the hammered finish. I don't own anything that's like that. I've never tried it. I want to try it for sure. So that's one thing you could do, and then you could tumble it or whatever. If you wanted a matte finish, excuse me. So a matte finish would sort of be the bar just as it is, not polished, not shiny, just sort of, I guess dull a little bit. But people do like that finish. It does look cool. So you could just be done with it, and that is your finish. You pour the bar, stamp it, and then here you go. That's it. So you could go with that. Or if you wanted a sort of glossy, polished finish, you could use a polishing compound and with a Dremel tool, and you can polish it up that way, where you use different grits of sandpaper. You could do that. So there's a lot of different ways you could polish it. The way I'm doing it is I'm putting it in the rock tumbler, and what I use in there is stainless steel shot. I started out with just a pound of it. Now I'm using 1.5 pounds of it, and it works out pretty well. So basically I just put the shot in there, and I got that off of Amazon. I don't know if I mentioned that. It's like, I think $16. So it's pretty cheap. But you put that in there, and then you want to get the Shine Bright solution, which I think I bought that off eBay. It was like $10. But you just need a very, very tiny bit of that, and mix it with water, and it will kind of make bubbles and sort of a soapy looking thing while it tumbles, but it will really, really clean up and shine up your pieces nice. So you need to tumble it from anywhere, I guess like maybe an hour at the lightest to up to maybe several days I've tumbled to get pieces looking really, really good. So and the rock tumbler I bought is just a regular rock tumbler. It's like $60. I got it at the big box store, and it can hold up to 3 pounds in it. So I don't think I'll have an issue with that. But yeah, so that's how I'm sort of getting the finish on mine. So then after I tumble it, then I can go ahead and stamp the weight and all that other stuff on the back. So that's sort of the process I'm using to stamp and finish my silver bars right now. I don't know if that's going to change in the future. It seems to be working out pretty well so far. One thing that I do want to try is I want to try antiquing a bar. So there's a couple things. So when you antique something, basically you're making it darker, sort of giving it an old rusticy looking finish. Maybe if you would imagine what pirate treasure would look like, that's probably sort of an antiqued look. And there's a couple things with that. So if you wanted to darken just the letters or the stamps or your logo or something like that, you can buy this stuff that's sort of like a dye, almost paint, that you put in there, and that you would just put it in your logo or whatever you want to darken. Wait a little bit and then wipe it off. I don't have any of that. I've never tried it. I have seen it on the market though, and I know people use that to sort of darken the stamps and get a little more definition out of just that part of it. So you could buy that and try that out. I think it's like $10 or something. But like I said, I don't have it. I haven't tried it at this point. And then there's also, if you want to antique the whole piece, which is what I'm interested in doing, I really want to try this. you can get something called liver of sulfur. And I have bought some. It's at my house. I've not opened it yet, but basically what it is it will turn the whole piece black, really, if you leave it in there long enough. So I guess the process is you take it out and you mix it with water, I believe. I don't know if it needs to be distilled water. I'm going to need to do some more research on it, obviously. But then you take your piece of silver and you just dunk the whole thing in there, and it will darken it significantly. And then you pull your piece of silver out. And then what you can do is use either sandpaper or, excuse me, some sort of way to polish it up. And you will just polish all of the high parts on the bar or the piece or whatever, and then the low parts will all still be black or really dark. So it gives us this super cool antique finish look. So your logo, all of your stamps, everything will look black. And then if you do a ripple bar or a ripple round, or there's sort of bumps in your piece, it's not totally flat, then all the low spots on those will be darker and all the high spots will be more polished. So those look super cool. I really need to try that out. I've actually, I got some stuff I'm going to be making here pretty soon where I think I'm going to try it out on. So I'm really excited for that. But anyway, that is episode 2 of Diary of a Silver Pourer. I hope I had some good information that I shared with you guys. If, like I said, if you wanted to get into silver pouring, or if you just wanted to hear someone talk about the process. So that's the whole kind of stamping and finishing side of it. So if you listen to my first 2 episodes, you're pretty much ready to go now. You know everything you need to know. No, there's still a lot more for me to learn. There's tons more information out there. That's, kind of what I'm doing right now, but I know that as I get more and more involved in it, I'll learn lots more, and I'm happy to share that with you guys and everything moving forward. So, thank you so much for listening to this, episode 2 podcast. And, if you enjoyed it, if you're still listening, definitely let me know in the comments, if you want more content like this, and, give it a like as well. And I'll try and make more of these in the future. I listened to the first one, and I'm making some adjustments on this one as far as like audio quality and stuff like that. So hopefully this one turns out a little bit better, and we can kind of keep them sounding great for you guys moving forward. So thank you all again so much. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Silver Baggins out.